lights set up on the wrong line there. There are a series of lines, as you can see on your screen there, one at 50 feet, another one at 75 feet, another one at 100 feet, and I believe it is the 100-foot line
That they're at now? Yeah.
and it's the 100-foot line that they're at right now. There you see our snorkel camera with our cameraman Joe Dinky up there. And by the way, we'd like to thank the people from the Harris Hill Fire Company who brought that snorkel in and are helping us out with it. There's Captain Fran Hafner running the snorkel from the bottom. Up in the bucket with our man Joe Dinky is Bill Watson from Harris Hill. And of course, Chief John Ricey helped set that up for us. They'll also be pumping the water today, and we'll get into that later. Slowpokes are about to start now. They're at the starting line. And they're off. Here they go. Okay, now they're going to get the ladder anchored. It's up. The climber's on his way. And it seems that he has a very good time there, Greg.
Okay, and they'll be announcing the time in just a second, Phil. Let's hear what the...
That one went off without a hitch. But
For main transit, 7.87. 7.87.
Okay, so you just heard 7.87 seconds for the main transit team.
the timing starts, by the way, from the second the wheels of that little cart they're using there cross the light beam to the second the climber touches the top rung of the ladder.
And next up are the Hilton hose haulers. And they're ready to go as soon as the official gives the word.
And they're off. Okay, the wagon's out of the way, the ladder's anchored, and the climber's up.
Oh, he slipped a little bit on the
there.
ladder.
Touches the top, and that's going to hurt him, Greg.
Oh, it sure will. I guess you have to, there's two things involved. Just one, trying to keep your balance on that ladder, and two is getting up there as fast as you can. Not an easy job. And they'll be announcing the time. Here it is.
9.80, 9.80.
Okay, about 2 seconds
All teams in the speed
from the
testing
main
up there,
transit
we're gonna
team.
do away with the duster run.
Okay, they just mentioned that they won't be having a duster run today. What that is they kind of run through here with the fire engines and so forth and kind of kick up a little bit of dust, and they call it dusting off the track, and it's a little bit of a showmanship thing.
And there goes the Henrietta team.
Okay, the wagon's out, they're anchoring the ladder, the climber's up, he's off to a good start, he wobbled a little bit there, and we'll check out the time on that. Again, a bit of a miscue there for Henrietta. Thus far in this part of the competition, Greg, and here's the time.
8.46. Okay, so that would put them in second place behind Main Transit.
That's right, Greg, thus far. And Main Transit, of course, had a very good run, went off without a hitch.
Not at all. The climber just got up there right away, and I guess that accounts for their the best time so far today.
By the way, all these events are strictly, there's a strict rule book that they go by for all of these. Matter of fact, it looks like the judges are now checking the vehicle a bit. Apparently they don't like the fact that there's a wheel cover broken or something there. We really can't see it from this angle. Well, I believe they're lining up the, what happens is there's a wheel cover that kicks off that timing light, Greg. And if that's not in the right spot, there's going to be a little bit of a discrepancy on the timing, so they were kind of adjusting that. And they're off.
Okay, Seabreeze getting off to a good start. Let's see how their climber
Ladder's
does.
anchored, the climber's on his way.
Well, slipping a little bit. Seems they had a little trouble getting the ladder up. Kind of went over to the right, or excuse me, to the left just a little bit. And here's the time.
9.19. 9.19. Up support on the line.
And Main and Transit still in the lead with 7.87 seconds. These Spencerport Red Onions ready to go.
These are quite exacting competitions, Greg. The slightest miscue is going to cost you time. It's going to cost you seconds.
Sure, as we've just seen the last couple teams, a little slip on the ladder or whatever, and that makes a big difference in the time and the places. And of course, there are different points for places 5 for first, 4 for second, and so on. And there go the Red Onions.
Okay, the wagon's out, they're anchoring the ladder, and the climber's up off to a very good start, Greg.
That looks good. I think that's going
I
to
would
be
have
close
to
to
say
the...
that's going to be a very good time, very close to main transit.
Right, and the time, we'll hear that in just a second.
Here's a shot from our snorkel camera there. Cameraman Joe Dinky at the helm.
8.14. 8.14.
He's only about 3/10 of a second off the main transit time, but not good enough to take over first place. And there, of course, the Dansville, New York Fire Department, dressed in green and white. The Dansville Bulldogs, I believe. And the officials are getting ready. Dansville is ready, and we're waiting. And there they're off. Okay, the ladder's at rope. And they had problems with the ladder, and of course, as you saw, the climber fell right off.
And that can be quite dangerous, Greg. That's a tall ladder. I don't know if you can really get a feel for it from our shot here. I think you can if you look at the people below that arch.
Committee, they want a fire police at the end of the track beyond the arch. A fire police at the end of the track beyond the arch.
Okay, so that'll be basically what they call a no time or a disqualification on that one.
Very unfortunate for the Dansville team, but as you say, it takes a lot of skill, and just had a little problem getting that ladder up.
By the way, there will be trophies at the end of this competition today. Main Transit now in the lead here. They are not eligible because they are the host team today. They're not eligible for the day's trophies, although their points will figure in their in the statewide competition, you know, for the yearly competition. And they do have about 8 of these events around the state per year. That state competition, by the way, I believe is going to be in Olean.
Olean, that's correct. And there goes Point Pleasant.
Okay, the wagon's out now. They're anchoring the ladder. The climber's up off to a very, very good start.
Okay, that too is going to be close, probably around 8 seconds or so.
Those are the Point Pleasant pea pickers, by the way.
Great name for a fire company, if any, I guess.
Time for Point Pleasant, 8.25. 8.25. Kenilworth on the line.
Okay, that would put Point Pleasant in 3rd place, and there's Kenilworth.
And it's a very, very tight race there thus far, Greg.
But I guess 1st through 3rd place is only
first
separated
3.
by about 0.5 of a second. I tell you, I myself would not want to be climbing up that ladder while they're putting it up, and it's awful steep as well, as you may or may not be able to tell from
As a matter of fact, I kind of climbed up there earlier today, and for one who isn't used to it, I think it's a bit it's a bit scary.
Oh, it sure was.
And they're off. Okay, they'll anchor the ladder. They're in trouble, but they seem to have anchored it successfully. Okay, that's going to cost them some time. They had a very slow climb there.
Oh, it sure will. And one of their members fell down, and I think that. Oh, here's the time. 9.60. As you can see, Phil, you have to be very accurate, very quick. It's and of course, there's that competitive spirit here, which.
And I might add too that a lot goes on in that few seconds. I mean, 9 or 10, between 7 and 10 seconds so far it's been, and that is not a lot of time to run 100 feet and anchor the ladder, get the climber up there, and it's all muscle power by these guys. Later you'll see the vehicles, and that's pretty exciting. We'll get into that a little bit later.
And there goes North Bailey, the North Bailey Jaguars.
They've anchored the ladder, the climber's up, a little bit shaky at the start there. Another thing I'd like to add is you see our camera on top of the arch there, that not only must the climber touch the top rung of the ladder, but the ladder must be touching the arch, and it has to be touching the face of the arch. And the time for North Bailey, 8.73. So now we'll get it officially. Unofficially, though, Main Transit picked up the win there in that particular event. and we'll see on the official word will be coming over the loudspeaker any minute.
There you see some of the officials, and of course they have quite a job on their shoulders as well, making sure everything's set and the timing and everything correct, so the competition goes off.
There's our cameraman on the arch, Tartuffe, Mike Matthias, but we call him Tartuffe around here. A little wave to Mom there.
Mike seems to like it up there. I was a little shaky up there before, but Mike seems to enjoy being up there and having a good time.
Now, Greg, what I'd also like to mention, I guess at this time, there are 10 events in total today. Right now, we've gone through 2 of the events. As we started off our telecast today, we missed part of the first one, which was a 3-man ladder, where the men start off at intervals of 50, 75, and 100 yards and climb the ladder. 2 of them sometimes climbing at once, but they must touch the top rung of the ladder in order to get a time, otherwise they're disqualified. And now you see one of the B trucks coming into view there. There's another one of them, and that's the Main Transit Slowpoke B truck. Now that truck has a big 454 engine in it. It actually has a pump mechanism in the back because one of the events is a pumping event. Now for this particular event, they'll be doing the B ladder event, which is very similar to what you saw with the running ladder on the back of a cart. In this case, they'll be on the back of the truck. The truck will take off. The timing starts at the 100-foot mark. They're now at the 150-foot mark, so they get a little time to get up some speed for this event, Greg. And then the timing starts. They slam on the brakes under the arch. The guys jump off, anchor the ladder, and the climber takes off.
So it's similar to a running ladder event, as Phil said, only they're using a B truck involved, and you can hear that engine.
And of course, these trucks are all modified for speed. I took a look under the hood of the Slowpoke's truck earlier, and it has a chromed engine, and it's quite a mechanism there.
Oh, it is quite a
They all wear
truck,
safety helmets for this, of course. Now that truck will reach speeds up to about 35 miles an hour. That's about the top speed for this event with the B truck. Now with the C truck, though, Greg, you're into some real modified, almost like money car type of vehicles, and they'll reach speeds up to 70 miles an hour. So things get a little bit tricky and a little bit hairy there, and it's very exciting to watch. And the Slowpokes are off. Slams on the brakes, the ladder's anchored, the climber's up, off to a great start. Almost a flawless maneuver.
And Main Transit once again with another great showing in the B ladder event.
As you can see, too, they've got quite a crowd here.
5.89, a fantastic time.
That's the best time the team's ever run.
And that, by the way, we heard from Phil Fisher in the background here that is the best time that the Main Transit Slowpokes have run. So it's kind of a record for them.
And it seems like Main Transit has really been training quite a bit for this event. So.
And now they have the
events.
hose haulers at the line. They're setting up with that modified B truck. And they're off. Slam on the brakes a little early on that, Greg.
And there goes Henrietta. They're off to another good start as well.
And they're up. It seemed like the truck stopped a little bit early there, not quite where they wanted to be.
Oh, it should be close to the Main Transit time of 5.89 seconds. And there, of course, are the Seabreeze Indians coming up next. 6.18, only about three-tenths of a second away from the Main Transit time.
Okay, and as I said, that slight miscue there when they stop, it's going to cost them a little bit of time, Greg. What they want to do is stop so they can just jump right off and have the ladder set in, rather than have to run with the ladder, have the men on the back of the truck run with the ladder. You want to time it, and the timing's got to be exact.
A lot of accuracy involved and split-second decisions as
there
well.
There you see the Henrietta hose haulers, or the Henrietta O'Henrys, I'm sorry. They're getting ready, revving up their customized truck. And that's a no time. They'll be disqualified on that one because they went beyond the safety line there, Greg. There's what they call a plumb line under that arch, which would set the ladder plumb with the arch. In other words, it would be a direct, straight line down from the arch. And if they do go beyond that line, of course, it's very easy for the climber to get injured. So they're what they call overtime disqualified from that event. Which is a shame, Greg, because they were doing very well thus far in the competition.
It's too bad. It just goes to show you what a responsibility the driver has to be very accurate. And there, of course, the Spencerport Red Onions revving up their truck and ready to go.
And by the way, the Red Onions are up now. That's kind of out of order.
And that's going to be a good time, Phil.
Yep, very good. Again, they did stop a little early, a little before the arch.
Sure, you can just imagine the amount of time it takes practicing these events. And here's the time. 5.81, and that brings Spencerport into first place.
That's right. It does bring him into the lead, Greg.
There's the Dansville, New York fire team. Saying a little prayer to get sight.
Dansville Bulldogs, Greg. And as I said, some of these companies, Greg, do not have the customized trucks, the modified trucks. So that's why you didn't see the Seabreeze team in this part of the competition.
Oh, and Dansville, once again having problems. You may remember earlier.
Yeah, he was in a bit of trouble there.
Yes, they had problems before getting that ladder up with the...
And that's a disqualified situation there. Because the ladder, first of all, it took too much time. Second of all, the ladder is out of that yellow area up there. What they call the face of the arch, that yellow point up there on the arch. If our cameras can get a shot of it, that is the face of the arch, and that's what they would call the fair zone, basically, for this part of the event.
And there you see Point Pleasant getting ready to go.
That's the Point Pleasant Pea Pickers. Oh, and Greg, could have been an excellent time there. He did miscue on one of the rungs of the ladder, and that's going to hurt him.
Oh, it sure will. Still, though, a good time and a good effort by the Point Pleasant Pea Pickers. And next up are the Kenilworth Ducks.
Point Pleasant, by the way, finished in second place on the last event.
6.32, and that will put them in fourth place.
So not far behind.
And you can see the insignia of Donald Duck, I think it is, with a fire hose there. That's their
for the Kenilworth
mascot.
Ducks. By the way, the teams competing here all the way from as far, I guess it would be east as Rochester and as far west as Danville. And I don't know what they're going to call that, Greg. Yeah, it's a disqualification. He's just off, if we can get a shot up there of the arch, he's just off that face of the arch there with the ladder. As you see the shot creeping up there, it's that yellow area in the middle is the face of the arch, as I said before.
And a bad break for Kenilworth. North Bailey coming up next. And of course, Spencerport is still in the lead with a time of 5.81 seconds unofficially.
The North Bailey Jaguars, by the way, are just from down the road here. It's another Amherst Fire Company, I believe.
It's amazing how quick these guys can get down to that arch and get that ladder up. It kind of makes you feel safe.
Yeah, I guess
around
so.
the area.
And by the way, these are all volunteer firemen, so they don't do this for a living. You know, it's strictly volunteer. They practice a bit, a couple times a week. And he's just at the face of that arch.
and it doesn't look like they were disqualified.
No, that will be a good time. As you see there, he's just before that plumb line. He may actually be on that plumb line at the bottom, because as you can see, that ladder was seemed just about straight up and down.
7.46.
Which is not a bad time, Greg.
No, not at all. And that's the end of the competition for that event.
That's right. And now we'll see the C ladder competition coming up. And Greg, this is an exciting one. Instead of being 150 feet from that arch, the C-class modified, I hesitate to call them trucks, will be down about 475 feet away from the arch. So what that does is it gives them a lot more time to gain speed, to pick up speed. The timing will start at about the 450-foot mark, which gives them about 25 feet to take off. And when you see these C-class vehicles come up here, I think you could see readily that that's about all they need to gain some good speed.
Oh,
they'll get up
impressive.
to about 70 miles an hour. And we'll be back in a moment with the C-class ladder event.
There was this guy who I thought was terrific. I mean, well, self-assured. And I really liked that in a person. Anyway, one night I saw him at a party. And I got up the nerve to say hello. And then he took out a cigarette. Blows my whole image of him. I mean, I know I make some people nervous, but I thought he had it together.
Smoking, it's a dead giveaway.
I think people who smoke are real losers.
Henrietta coming up next, Main Transit, another fine job with the C ladder competition.
And again, Hilton would be second in all the other events here, but they don't have a C-class truck. So but that's quite a vehicle. I hope we can get a shot of that C-class vehicle down there a little bit later. But
Come back down the track.
this is a pretty exciting event. There you have the Henrietta O'Henrys, and they're taking off in their C-class vehicle. Lays on the brakes. They get the ladder up. The climber's on his way. A little bit of a miscue there.
Okay, and they kind of tilted a little bit to the left of the arch with the ladder, but still a fine job and should be a good time for Henrietta.
Time for Henrietta, 12.83, 12.83.
Okay, about 2 seconds off the Main Transit time of 10.43.
Okay, now of course up on our screen there we did have, as I said, we had the name the Hilton of the Hilton team before, but they're not in this event. So that was the Henrietta team with a time of 12.83.
And there's a shot of the Seabreeze Indians getting ready to take off.
That's right, and they're on the starting line, and that is quite a vehicle.
That sure is.
It looks like, it almost looks like a Grand Prix car. Now what they have there is they have a driver, and it looks like about 3 or 4, I believe it's 4 guys to anchor the ladder, and a 5th guy, the climber. So it's a 6-man team altogether. The driver must stay in the vehicle in the driver's seat.
And here they come.
And that's going to be a disqualification. He's off the face of the arch. Again, there you see he's off the yellow portion of the arch, Greg.
And the climber banged the ladder. A little disappointment.
And a rather slow ride also there for the Seabreeze Indians, Greg. They really didn't come through here with the power that the other teams have thus far.
Well, of course, there are a lot of other events to make up. If a team is disqualified in one event or another, there are chances
there's
to make
always a chance that one of the other teams will be disqualified in one of the further events. So,
Our C-truck's going to come back down, I think. They're turning around.
okay,
Through yet or not.
they're kind of turning those C trucks around down there and regrouping. At the end of this competition, they'll probably all parade by here. I see the Main Transit C-class vehicle coming back down. He's going to come in front of our grandstand area, our broadcast location here, kind of taking a sort of a victory lap there. If we can, when he comes into our screen, we'll try and follow him by. And there you see the Henrietta truck cruising through also. And there you see that orange Main Transit, brand new C-class vehicle.
And it is one nice looking car, that's
And
for sure.
that's a high-powered machine, Greg. I understand that down around Long Island they're very serious about these events, and they have things like Offenhauser-powered trucks. If you're familiar with racing at all, you know Offenhauser is a big name in racing motors. And so they can really get kind of carried away with this. They hold events all year to fundraise for these type of things, Greg. In a lot of cases, I know that the case here, they built their own C-Class vehicle. The chassis was prepared, and then they built it up mechanically.
I guess it's the old adage, you work hard and you play hard as well. And there is Spencerport on the line getting ready. The Spencerport Red Onions. And once again, they are 475 feet away from the arch and the where they set the ladder up.
Well, actually 475 feet at this point. Now they're just about, they crossed the 450-foot mark. They're coming closer. They're at about the 100, the 25, anchoring the ladder. The climber's up, and it looks like a very good time there. He missed one rung of the ladder. That may hurt a bit.
Seems quite a few of the teams where they're losing a second or two. It's just a few rungs away from that top part. I guess it's, of course, it's very tough trying to get up there as fast as you can and keeping your balance and just doing your best job to get up there. Here's the time.
11.35. Union Hose on the line.
So not a bad time. In fact, that really puts them in the lead as far as today's totals go, Greg.
Dansville Bulldogs coming up next. It's interesting to see the different designs of their of these C trucks. A lot of imagination and creativity, I'm sure, have gone into.
You go from a sleek, a very sleek looking, almost professional looking racer to something like this. And there they've crossed the 450-foot mark. The timing starts there. He lays on the brakes. Oh, and a bad miscue there. As we may or may not have mentioned before, Greg, these things are dangerous competitions. When you get into a car that's going up to about 68, 69 miles per hour, slamming on the brakes, in that case, the Dansville vehicle there skidded about, I would say, 50 feet. There was about a 50-foot skid there. And what happens is there's a quick maneuver there by the driver. Here you see the Seabreeze car will be coming back through our screen in a moment. And also the Spencerport Red Onions car, they'll be kind of cruising back.
And a round of applause for the Spencerport Red Onions, who are now currently in first place.
Yeah, there you're seeing the starting line again, but...
Next on the line, Point Pleasant.
Mention the windshield factor if you get a chance. The wind. Never mind. If you get a freezing.
I think it has a little play in the ladder setting up and climbing with this strong breeze. Will have an effect on the hose events.
There are the pea pickers getting ready to go.
Okay, and now today is a very hot day, but it's also a windy day, and that will have a play in these type of events. There, they've crossed the 450-foot mark, and they're in skidding, jumping off the truck. The ladder's anchored, the climber's up, had a little bit of a miscue there, hits the top rung, and we'll check out the timing on that. As Bill Fisher is here with me from the Main Transit Fire Company here, and I was just talking to him about the wind as a factor here. Now, Bill, what kind of a factor is the wind here on these events?
Well, in the ladder events, it'll have some effect as the men are climbing. That stiff wind, crosswind, will have a tendency to push them to the left a bit, and it makes it more difficult climbing. It'll have an effect in the hose events where they're shooting a hose stream and motor pump of 50 feet. It'll have a tendency to break the stream up and make it very difficult to trip the target. And the other hose events where they're shooting 25 feet, it'll have some effect, but not quite as much.
Okay, thank you very much, Bill Fisher, for that. And now we have the Jaguars, North Bailey Jaguars, coming into view here. And a very good run for them, a very fast run, but they've gone under the arch. Now, I'll have to check that again.
Well, it doesn't look like they were disqualified, Phil.
If Bill Fisher, let me ask you again now, they traveled under the arch there. Now, that does not mean a disqualification in this case?
No, they would be disqualified if
if they touch beyond the plumb line with their spikes of their ladder. Once they've touched beyond the line, they can no longer set the ladder up.
Okay, so in that case, Bill Fisher, what happened is they did, the car continued and the men continued under the arch. However, they did not touch down with the ladder, and therefore they were able to pull it back and regroup and continue with the competition and get a time out of it.
Right, yeah, because in an event like this where there are maybe a number of disqualifications and no time, any time they could get them some points. Those are the overall trophies for the day.
That's very true, and thank you very much again, Bill Fisher, for your help here today. And what kind of a time do we have on that, Greg, with the miscue and everything?
Okay, North Bailey had a time of, excuse me, 14.61 seconds.
Team order finished.
And
It's not that far out of the running.
No, it's not.
North Bailey.
North Bailey in fourth place.
3 points, Henrietta. Second place, 4 points, Point Pleasant. First place, 5 points with a time of 11.35. The Spencer Port The best time of the race was 10.43 run by Main Transit Slowpoke.
Main Transit once again with the best time. But since they're hosting, Spencerport takes first place. And that's Spencerport's third first place
And
in a
by
row.
the way, they had, at the end of 3 events, okay, we had Henrietta leading with 12 points, Spencerport with 10, and Point Pleasant with 9 points for the overall competition for today. I'm Phil Tronalone for International Cable, back again with the Western New York Firemen's Competition. Here with me, I have Bill Fisher, who's been helping us out along the way with some kind of unofficial judging at our broadcast location. Now, Bill, you're with Main Transit. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your team?
Okay, we have about 14 to 15 members on our team. Each man has different positions in different competitions. They try in the beginning of the season to earn themselves a spot in the different events. Everybody on the team runs in at least 5 or 6 events.
Okay, and right now we're starting the C, what they call the C-hose event, which means it's the customized C-class vehicle, and it is a hose event. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it, and we'll kind of get shots around here to kind of explain that as we go.
Okay, the event will start with the trucks 450 feet from the hydrant. The timing line is 400 feet from the hydrant. There'll be 4 men on the back of the truck, 1 driver. The man on the, facing the front of the truck, it'll be the man on the left, will be your nozzle man. He'll carry a nozzle in his hand. The next man from that side will be the hydrant man. He'll have the end of the hose in his hand. And the next third man over will be what they call a horse. He'll also get off at the hydrant to help the hydrant man to hold the hose back so when the truck pulls away, it doesn't pull a hose out of his hand. The fourth man on the back of the truck is the brake man for the nozzle. He'll assist the nozzle man when the truck proceeds to the nozzle line, where they got to disconnect a dummy length of hose, an extra length of hose that's on the end of the 150 feet. He'll disconnect that hose. The nozzle man will then put the nozzle on, and they'll attempt to trip the target.
Okay, now the target, as we see, is down here near the arch, where some of the other events have taken place. What kind of pressure does it take to hit that target, to trip that target?
It takes very little pressure at all. In fact, sometimes when they shut the hose line down, there'll be enough momentum in the line, the water is enough to trip that target.
Okay, and now we see in the background, if our cameras get a shot of it here, we see the Main Transit team lining up. Could you kind of go through the lineup of who's on the team there for us?
Okay, on the nozzle man will be John Carl, our first assistant chief. The hydrant man is John Kemp, one of our captains. The brake man is Randy Lysing, and the horse is Bernie Steinman.
Okay, so there are some of the team members, and thank you very much for helping me out, Bill Fisher. I know you'll be with me for the rest of the afternoon, helping me out as I need it. And now I'll throw things to Greg Romeo with the play-by-play on this C-hose event.
Thanks very much, Phil, and an interesting interview with Bill Fisher. I want to run down the standings so far for the competition at this point before we go into the 5th event, which is, as Phil and Bill said, the Class C hose event. Henrietta and Spencerport are both tied for first place with 15 points. In second place is Point Pleasant with 13 points. North Bailey has a total of 6 points so far. Dansville has 4 points. Seabreeze has 2 points and Hilton has none. So this competition, but as we said, there are 6 more events to go, and it looks like it's going to be a close event all the way around throughout the competition. And Phil has just came back with me, sitting down. We're getting ready for the Sea Hose competition. Any minute now, it should be an exciting event.
Okay, Greg, and things are looking very good here. They're about to start. We see one of the judges with a white flag out down here. I believe he'll wave that flag. Maybe Bill Fisher, who's still with us, can talk to me a little bit about that. Okay, here they've started off. They're on their way. That car's reaching about 70 miles an hour. They slam on the brakes. Okay, the hydrant man's out. He's now streaming through that hose as they go down. The dummy hose is off. They didn't make the nozzle. They're in big trouble with that one. That looks like no time. On that, okay, they've gone with it again. All right, let me just get a little verification on the way the rules work here. Bill Fisher, tell me about that a little bit. What's going on there? Is it a no time if they don't get the nozzle? Do they have a chance to turn it off and go again? What's up?
No, they have a chance to turn it off and go again. Like I said in the earlier events, with this type of events, a lot of times the team will be disqualified. With this number of teams, you'll go to get any time you can and hopefully get some points out of it.
Mm-hmm. And there we saw it with your team, Maine Transit, doing very well thus far, although you're not going for the trophies today. But something like that where they did lose some time there could hurt them in the competition.
Yeah, well, it takes really a really good team to do it in all 10 events every day. It generally is 1 or 2 events that each team will have a problem with. It's very seldom you get through the whole day with every event going perfectly.
And is that generally one of your team's better or worse events there with the Sea Hose?
We're pretty good at that event. We have better events than some worse, but we consider us pretty good.
So
at that event.
what would it take to be so-called disqualified or caught with a no time on this event?
Well, if your nozzle man was beyond the nozzle line, you could be disqualified.
And that would be up here.
Right,
where there's 2 lines that are about, what, 25 feet apart approximately?
It's 25 feet from the target. It's 150 feet from the hydrant where the nozzle line is.
Okay. So you have this area towards the front, the bottom of our screen here that we've just lost. Now the next team is set to go there, and I believe that's the Henrietta team?
Yes, that's Henrietta.
The Hilton team does not have a vehicle for this event.
No, they only participate in the foot races.
Okay, thank you very much, Bill Fisher. Again, the people from Maine Transit have helped us out a great deal today. They are the host team, and we've really gotten a lot of cooperation from them. We appreciate that a great deal.
Oh, they put on quite a show, quite an event. A lot of, as you said, very helpful. A lot of people obviously enjoying the events.
Okay, and there you hear it on the an official word that Maine Transit was disqualified for this event. And as I said before, they're measuring hose today, and the dummy length of hose, that is the length of hose that they unhooked to put the nozzle on, was too short. And here we have Henrietta taking off, whipping down that back straight. Okay, they're at the hydrant. The hydrant man's over there. The water now beginning to stream through the hose. The dummy length is off, the nozzle is on. Looks like a very good time for Henrietta. Very well done. Almost flawless, Greg.
And it's Henrietta. They got that nozzle on before the water came streaming through.
15.80.
And that was 15.80 for Henrietta. As we said before, Maine Transit was disqualified for having for a hose problem, a hose length problem, which they've been measuring today.
So as you can see, split timing is very essential here to this event.
Okay, that dummy hose I just heard from Bill Fisher has to be a minimum of 40 feet. And apparently it was not. It was a little bit short. Now, what kind of an advantage that would give, we're not too certain of. But it doesn't seem like it would do much.
Okay, and there they go. You see some of the officials.
Looks like they're making some adjustments there at the hydrant. Okay, and we'll go to Bill Fisher for a second to tell us about that.
Each team at the hydrant, they put on their own adapter that they connect to. Each team they have a different angle to it, where their starting thread is on the adapter. So each team has the responsibility of providing their own adapter, and they put it on before each of the hose events.
And how many turns do they have to get get the hose on? First of all, the hose onto the hydrant.
They'll put it on probably between a half and a full turn. It'll take to hold it.
Okay, and they're taking off now. They're coming down. That's Seabreeze, I believe. Okay, the hydrant man's hooked up. Okay, they've got the dummy off, the nozzle's on, and the hose, the water's coming through. Another very, very good time, Greg.
And look, Seabreeze, it's going to be close with Henrietta for the time.
And as I was mentioning before, as soon as they get that hose hooked to the hydrant, 17.55. I'm a little bit surprised by that, Greg. It could be, I think the difference in that was, the technique was fine. I think the difference was the speed of the vehicle right there.
It seemed to be Phil. They were about 2 seconds away from Henrietta.
Looked like they may have been a little more cautious than Henrietta was in this particular event.
Of course, they got that nozzle on right away before the water, which is all important.
And the water does start streaming through that hose. It's the hydrant man's responsibility, once he gets that hose hooked up, to get the water rushing through, because you're going to lose precious seconds there if not. And so the water is coming through gradually. It's coming up from the back of the hose towards the nozzle. So there's two tricky points. There's a tricky point there at the hydrant. Another tricky point is obviously knocking off the dummy and getting your nozzle on, because once that water gets through, it's like a garden hose at home. You have a heck of a time getting the nozzle on if there's water rushing out of it.
Oh, that's true.
Especially with the pressure they're talking about here.
As you said, split-second timing. So we see at this event and the others we viewed today, a tenth of a second is very important to this event. They're so close. And, of course, Henrietta's still in the lead with a time of 15.80 seconds, with Seabreeze close behind, only about 2 seconds away.
And that time includes a car going 450 feet and stopping twice, actually. Stopping once at the hydrant and taking off, and again at the nozzle point. And looks like Spencerport is on the line, and they're ready to roll. I just saw it from the judge, the Spencerport Red Onions.
Red Onions, of course, they're tied for first place.
With 15 points, right, Greg?
Right, with Henrietta, too. Both teams have 15 points, and in third is Point Pleasant. The Pea Pickers with 13.
Okay, there they go. They're coming down the back straight. Screeching to a halt at the hydrant. Hydrant man's in good shape. He's got it on. That truck spinning there a little bit. The nozzle's on. A very good show. Very good show, Greg.
And you folks may at home be able to hear the... seems to be a crowd of Spencerport fans to the right of the broadcast booth there, and cheering Spencerport on, and rightfully so. And we'll be hearing the time in just a second. Coming up next, the Dansville Bulldogs have had their share of problems today throughout the competition. Here's a shot of the crowd enjoying today's event.
And by the way, Greg, I understand you'll be talking to John Ricey, who is the Harris Hill fire chief from the Harris Hill department. They've supplied the pumper for the water here, and also a fantastic camera angle from their bucket truck there. The big, huge hook and ladder type truck. There you see it with our cameraman Joe Dinky up there.
Joe's doing a great job
really
as
up
always.
there, Greg. He's quite high up in the air. He's probably a good, I'd say 30 feet up.
Oh, you think he's a little nervous? I don't know.
Yeah, nerves of steel. Joe Dinky has nerves of steel.
Quite a guy, Joe Dinky. And we'll be hearing Spencerport's time in just a second.
And there you see him up in the gondola, Joe Dinky.
Okay, coming up next, Dansville Bulldogs.
Okay, and there you see the Dansville Bulldogs coming through. They're in that back stretch, screeching to a halt at the hydrant. The hose men jump off. They're hooked up, the water's streaming through the hose. And now the dummy length is knocked off. The nozzle's on, not quite. Okay, they'll have to stop the pressure. They put it on again, and there they go. Not too bad a time, considering they did have quite a problem there. And we're waiting now for the official time for the Dansville team.
Time, 15.73,
Oh, I'm sorry, that was the Spencerport team, and it's 15.73.
20.85. Point Pleasant on the line.
And that's Point Pleasant on the line right now. So we have, I believe, 2 teams to go in this sea hose competition with those souped up C-Class vehicles. With me again now is Bill Fisher. Bill, I think I'm a little confused there. Could you run down the scoring for the last two contestants there?
Spencerport at a time of 15.73.
Okay, so there was Dansville running in that last run there.
Yes, that was Dansville. They were delayed and given Spencerport's time for some reason.
That's why I thought there was a little bit of confusion there. And now for Dansville, we have a time of 20 point something, is it?
20.85.
Thank you very much, Bill.
It's an articulating clap.
Okay, so it's Point Pleasant on the line right now. Quite a team there, quite a racing car it looks like they have there. And what was that, Bill? Bill Fisher?
That truck is unique in the fact that the driver is on the right-hand side. Most of the other vehicles, the driver is either on the left side or the majority of them is right in the center.
Like a racing car style situation, more or less.
Right. I think they feel it gives them a better view coming into the hydrant, being he's closer, being he's on the right side of the vehicle.
Well, that's another little trick that may gain some kind of an advantage, or they hope so, I imagine. Okay, looks like we're ready to roll now. They're at the starting line. Some last-minute adjustments for the Point Pleasant team. They are, by the way, at this point, well up in the standings with going into this particular event with 13 points. So they're in second place.
Friday night at
as of last event, anyways, in second place. Down to the hydrant. They jump off. Hydrant man hooks up. The water streaming through the hose now. Getting that vehicle out of the way, the nozzle's on. Looks like they will score a very good time again. And one of the Point Breeze contestants there hosing himself down. And 15.01 is the time. That puts them into the lead. A very close race here. Henrietta's next with 15.80. So that was a very important event for Point Breeze, because that will definitely move them up in the standings, depending what happens with the next team up. Oh, I'm sorry, Point Pleasant that was, with a time of 15:01. Okay, the next team up, I believe, will be North Bailey, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Bill Fisher?
Yes, that's correct.
There you see the Pea Picker's car going down there with that driver on the right-hand side. Okay, Main Transit is taking a rerun here on the C-Hose event. Could you give me a little information about that, Bill?
The only thing I can think of is possibly because of the dummy length that they said we were disqualified for. We've used that same length for 8 years, and we've never had a problem before, so they may have questioned that. That's the only thing I can think of at this time.
Yeah, it could be. I did hear a couple of the Main Transit men mentioning that earlier.
Exactly why.
Okay, Bill Fisher's going to kind of dispatch over to the judges there and find out what exactly is going on with the Main Transit rerun. There you see the North Bailey Jaguars. Again, we're in the C-Class division here with these modified fire trucks, if you will. There you see them in the back straight at the starting line. Remember, they're 450 feet away from the hydrant. This total event covers about 600 feet. Okay, and they're off. The North Bailey Jaguars coming down that back stretch, gaining speed, probably up to about 55 miles an hour. They're at the hydrant now. The hydrant man jumps off, hooks up, a very good hookup. The water streaming through the hose. The North Bailey Jaguar car stalled for a moment there, and looks like that could have hurt him a little. And they finally do connect. I'll tell you, it probably wouldn't be too bad at this point, Bill Fisher, to be over there by that target getting a little spray. It's quite a warm day today, about 90 degrees or so.
Yeah, a lot of days you enjoy it, being out there getting wet. I got information on that rerun. The disqualification because of the short hose was protested by Main Transit, and the protest was allowed, so normally their time that they had would stand. However, the clocks malfunctioned, so they'll get a rerun due to the clocks malfunctioning.
I see. Well, that explains a little bit of what's going on here. Okay, in North Bailey with a time of 2:05.22, which is not a very good time, and they had a couple problems there, mainly at the nozzle end. But that's not totally unique today. A couple of the other teams have had problems with the nozzle. That probably is the trickiest part of the event. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bill.
Yes, it is, because they know that the water is coming down the line behind them. They automatically turn the hydrant on. They don't wait till the nozzle is on. So the water is in the hose before they get off the truck to
So
put the
there's a lot
nozzle
of pressure
on.
at that point for the nozzle man.
Yeah, because they can hear the air coming out of the hose. They know the water's coming, so the pressure's on him to get it on.
That must be quite a feeling.
Yes, it is.
Okay, and now I think they're going to be rerunning the main transit run right now, if I'm not mistaken. If we can get a look up at the starting line here and see who's up there ready to roll. Okay, they haven't pulled the vehicle in yet. Looks like they're sweeping things off. I did hear an announcement a little bit earlier about some kind of a problem at the starting end. Did you catch what that was all about, Bill Fisher?
No, I didn't. But I know probably part of the delay is Main Transit will need a few minutes now to pack the hose back in their truck, being that they weren't anticipating probably rerunning, so they take a few minutes to get the hose loaded in the vehicle.
Now, as it stands, with a time of 15.01, Point Pleasant is in the lead for this event. Next after that would be Spencerport with a time of 15.73. Okay, after that, Henrietta with a time of 15.80, and then Seabreeze at 17.55. Okay, and in the basement on this one would be the Dansville team, first of all, with a time of 20 seconds, .85, and then the North Bailey team with a time of 25.22. And North Bailey, all throughout the competition, they are about in fourth place. Now, depending what happens here, that probably will remain about the same. Okay, we have the Main Transit vehicle there. As I mentioned before, that brand new C-Class vehicle that they've built here. It has a racing chassis, basically a sprint car type of a chassis. The back of it, by the way, has no springs in it, no spring suspension. The only thing that gives there are those tires. And they've also gone, with this vehicle, they've gone to a 15-inch tire, and most of the other teams, I believe, use about a 12-inch tire or a 10-inch tire. Now, for the drivers of these, first of all, who's your driver, Bill?
Rod Keppel's our driver. He's also one of the chief mechanics.
So he's built that car more or less. He's been kind of instrumental in building it up, right?
Right. He's handled all the mechanical work and getting the engine built up and getting that whole end of the truck put together.
Okay, and who's the nozzle man for this event?
Same as before. The nozzle man is John Carl, our first assistant chief.
Okay, now you have the Carl family is pretty big in your department here. Is that so?
Yes, George Carl was a past chief. He was the man chief in charge of building that truck.
And he's helped us quite a bit here today. He's kind of organized this our shooting here.
Right. Then we have John Carl, who's an active member of the team, who's the first assistant chief. Billy Carl, who's the second assistant chief. He helps the team. He does a lot of the starting of the foot race events. Also tows the vehicles to the different events. He's a past captain of the team. He's not as active as he...
Those are George's sons.
George's two sons, and his younger son, who just joined, Bobby Carl. He was digger, right side digger on the B&C ladder and running ladder events.
That would be the guys that anchor the spikes on the bottom of that ladder into the ground.
Right. Johnny Carl's on the left side, and Bobby Carl's on the right side.
Okay, hopefully we will be ready to go at this point with the Main Transit rerun. And as we hear the announcer over the PA system here saying the track is clear and they are about to take off now, they're at the line. All the team members are on the truck, so they are definitely ready to go. They're revving up the engine now. They're on the starting line.
And when the men on the back of the truck are ready, they'll count off in sequence 1, 2, 3, 4. And when the driver hears the fourth count, then he knows they're ready. And as soon as he's ready, they take off.
Okay, and they're off. They're down the back straight. Truck's probably reaching about 50 or 60 miles an hour. There you see it on the split screen. men are hard at work. And the nozzle men are off. They've kicked away the dummy hose. The nozzle's on. Looks like a very good time. A very, very good time for Maine Transit.
We're thinking of contemplating a lawsuit. We have, being a member of the Southwestern Association, Erie, Niagara, County, we have the rights to that name this year.
Oh, yeah?
They don't.
Okay, and there you have it. 16.36 for Maine Transit, which puts them about
Should be interesting.
about third between Henrietta and Seabreeze. And now I'll throw things over to Greg Romeo, who's going to talk a little bit about the setup here with the water pressure, and he'll be talking to the Harris Hill Fire Company's chief, John Ricey. Take it away, Greg.
This is Greg Romeo here, and I'm here with Mr. John Ricey, the fire chief of the Harris Hill Fire Department. And of course, John and his company are helping out with the Maine Transit Firematic tourney here today. John, you want to tell us a little bit about how you folks are helping out with the tournament?
Well, today for Maine Transit, we're supplying a C-grade pumping engine that can supply water to their tournament. And we're also supplying our American La France Snorkel Quint, which International Cable is using to take their video program of today's event.
That's right. They're also helping us out as well. And you might be able to get a shot of Joe Dinky up there on the snorkel. And John, you were saying earlier that that snorkel has an advantage over some of the other fire engines as far as getting up there?
Well, it has an advantage of, it's an 85-foot articulating platform unit, and it levels very efficiently and quickly, so that it works very well as far as taking any type of video pictures as well as a firefighting apparatus.
And we're getting some great shots up there from Joe. Also, you're helping out supplying the water. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the way we're supplying the water is, you can see in the background, our Seagrave engine is taking draft from a portable pond, and the water is being supplied to the portable pond through a 3-inch supply line from a hydrant that's down on Main Street, probably about a quarter of a mile away.
Okay, and you mentioned a few of the other folks helping you out as we talked earlier. You might want to mention their names?
Well, I have my truck captain in the blue, Fran Hefner, Fire Police Captain Larry Beeman, firefighter George Schalk, and up in the basket, closest to us is Lieutenant Bill Watson. He's our truck lieutenant.
Okay, and you folks are doing a really great job helping out, and it's an exciting tournament, and thanks very much for taking a little bit of your time. I know you're busy over there, and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. You're most welcome.
All right, thanks, John. And we're going to take it back to Phil Tronalone. Phil?
Okay, now we'll take a short break while they regroup and reset up the starting gates for our next event, which will be the B-hose competition, back to those B-class vehicles. And we'll be back in a moment with that. Right now to the B-hose competition with those Class B pumper vehicles. The standings right now have the Spencerport team ahead with 19 points. Tied for second place are Henrietta and Mount Pleasant. After that, it's North Bailey with 6, Dansville with 5, Seaport with 4. Now, this competition is one where they actually pump the water through the truck. And we'll tell you about that in a minute. I think we'll watch the first run here first, and then we'll get to the basic rules of what's going on here. You see the first truck there is the Maine Transit truck in line, ready to go. They're off the starting line. Now they're off. They've made contact at the hydrant. They're back down to the nozzle. And they score. So that should be a pretty good run, Greg.
Okay, Maine Transit having a very good day here in just about all the events. And as Phil mentioned earlier, here's the time.
9.53.
Okay, it's just heard 9.53 for Maine Transit, and the Henrietta Old Henrys are next. And of course, the B hose competition, same as the Class C hose, only they're starting from a distance 150 feet away from the hydrant instead of 475 feet, which the C-Class
and a slower running truck also.
That's right. Now it doesn't get up quite as fast as the
and these are big, heavy, almost fire truck type vehicles. They're about the size of, I guess a tow truck or something, and they do have a pumper in them. They are working pumpers. Although they don't use them on real fires, they are only used for this competition, but they do have pumps in them.
And of course, Phil and I got a chance to earlier to view the pumping back one of the trucks, and they quite powerful. as
Quite
you
a
can tell.
heavy-duty pump. And we'll see those used, by the way, in the next event.
Henrietta starting very shortly. Then they're off.
Okay, they're off at the hydrant. They make the connection. Screech to a halt here. Get rid of that dummy hose, and they're a little late on that. They'll have trouble with the nozzle. They'll lose pressure, hit it again. And there they go. It's going to be a slow time for them, Greg.
Yes, that's going to hurt Henrietta quite a bit. Of course, the key is getting that nozzle on before the water is pumped through.
And there is a heck of a lot going on there. It's very much of a precision event.
14.92, 14.92.
Okay, 14.92 Henrietta, and they're about 5 seconds off the main transit time. And Seabreeze coming up in a second.
And of course, as we mentioned before, the main transit time does not count for the trophies in today's events.
It's too bad in a way because they're having such a good day. And of course, Spencerport doing very well. Also, as we mentioned earlier, Spencerport was the favorite, and as of now, they're 1 point ahead of Henrietta and Point Pleasant for first place.
And here we see the Seabreeze team on the line.
Getting ready. Officials ready to give the...
This is, by the way, the Western New York Regional Tournament, basically, Greg. There they go on the split screen. They're hooked up to the hydrant. Oh, they had a bit of a problem there, Greg. That's going to cost them a lot of time. The water's now coursing through that hose.
Okay.
The nozzle man, of course, has no trouble hooking up, and they get off a good shot.
And it seemed like the water had a little trouble getting through there, which I'm sure will slow them down a few seconds.
Yeah, that will knock a little bit of time off for them.
For Seabreeze, 14.80, 14.80. From the board on our line.
And that was the Seabreeze Indians with a time of 14.80, 14.80 seconds.
Spencerport coming up next, and as you heard, there's Spencerport fans to the right of us here cheering on their team, and rightfully so, having a great day here in the competition.
By the way, Greg, I'd like to mention, although we are having a lot of fun here, it's a great event, it's not all fun and games. These are very dedicated men, volunteer firemen, competing in these competitions, and they do working fires. And as a matter of fact, Bill Fisher, who was with us a few moments ago and has been with us throughout the afternoon, had to run to a fire. The main transit company had a call, and he had to rush away to the fire.
I was talking to Bill earlier about that, asking him who's in charge, and he mentioned that, of course, the people that aren't involved would take care of a fire if one did come up, and hopefully everything's under control wherever that fire may be.
So they are still protecting the community. They have beepers with them and so forth. And the Spencerport team's off the line. They're at the hydrant. Good hook up at the hydrant. Now they're chasing that nozzle. They don't get the nozzle on.
Okay, and okay.
The second man there waving them off. And they make the connection. Now, as you saw there, Greg, and it was pretty interesting on the split screen, they didn't get the nozzle on.
13.25.
And that's 13.25, which is not too bad.
And that should put them in second place, I believe, as of now, of course, with a few more teams remaining in the B-Hose competition. And there's a shot of Dansville.
But as I said, Greg, it was interesting to see the anchor man, so to speak, behind the nozzle man, waving off the hydrant man, waving him to cut the pressure so that they could get that nozzle on.
I don't think there'd be any way of getting that nozzle on very easily with all that water pressure coming through at once. Obviously, the reason why he waved them off and then right back on when they got a better gauge on the nozzle. And Dansville revving up their truck, ready to go. The officials are ready. Once again, they're 150 feet away from the hydrant.
And there you see the Dansville Bulldogs, and they've not been having very good luck today, Greg. And they take off. You see them on the split screen. They've stumbled at the hydrant. That's going to hurt them. But, of course, that makes it a little easier for the nozzle man. The water now coursing through that hose, coming up to the nozzle. Good connection, and they score.
And hopefully Dansville can redeem themselves a little bit in the competition, hopefully pick up a few points.
12.89, 12.89. Point Pleasant on the line.
Okay, with a time of 12.89, I believe that puts them in second place, taking over Spencerport.
By the way, Greg, the announcer here over the PA system has been saying Union Hose for the Dansville team. So what it is I believe they are the Union Hose Company of Dansville, New York. So they call them by both names, Union Hose and Dansville. Here we're referring to them basically as the Dansville Bulldogs. You see the Point Pleasant
Pea Pickers.
Pea Pickers on the line there.
Yeah, quite an interesting name. It'd be interesting to find out how they went about that. A lot of interesting names here. The Spencerport Red Onions, Seabreeze Indians, the Jaguars, the Ducks. I think Pea Pickers is my favorite, though.
I kind of like that one.
Point Pleasant. Let's see how they can do.
And they are so far in the standings well up there. They're right now tied with for second place with Henrietta. We'll talk about the procedure for the tie too a little bit later on. Here they go on the split screen. They're off at the hydrant. Little trouble there. They've made the connection. Water's coursing through those lines. They've got the nozzle on. Looks like they'll have a good time, Greg. There they go. They tripped the switch there.
And a fine performance from Point Pleasant. In just a second, we'll hear their time. Should be a good one, Phil, as you mentioned.
Time for Point Pleasant, 10.85. 10.85. Delworth on the line.
Now, Greg, by the way, should there be a tie in one of these events, okay, what they would do is, let's say there's a tie for first place. The two teams would split the first and second place points. Therefore, you'd have a situation where there's 9 points there for first and second place, 5 for first, 4 for second. Each team would get 4.5 in the case of a tie.
Okay, and it looks like we might come to that in a few of these events, as you said. It's so
They're
close.
running very close, Greg.
Very close. First, second, and third place separated by only a point. And fourth place kind of far behind.
So far, by the way, Maine Transit's leading. Of course, that doesn't count. They had an excellent time of 9.52 in this, or 5.3 in this event. Okay,
And here comes
North.
Kenilworth. And they got that hose on the hydrant very quickly. Now we're just waiting for the nozzle.
And that water's coming through awful quick there. Looks like they sprayed half the crowd, Greg.
Well, I'm sure the crowd didn't mind. It's such a hot day. Kenilworth should have a good time. As you saw on the split screen, they had that hooked up to the hydrant awful quick. And here's the time.
12.59, a very good time. That puts them up into, I believe, second place for this event. The leader, of course, is there. You see some of the crowd there.
Everyone enjoying the
That's
event.
the crowd that got wet there, Greg.
Oh, okay.
And believe they really got sprayed.
Oh, they should be happy about that. I wouldn't mind if you...
There, by the way,
water
is the
coming.
ladder where our cameraman Mike Tartuffe Matthias was climbing up to that archway there, and Mike was complaining that ladder had quite a bit of play in it. It really bowed quite a bit, and he didn't really like that too much.
No, I don't blame him. I was up there earlier, and it was kind of springing. It's an eerie feeling, heading up about 20 feet or so.
And it's the North Bailey Jaguars off the line. You see them on the split screen hooking up at the hydrant. They're having a little bit of trouble there. The car's backfiring as it goes. That B-class machine, they're having quite a bit of trouble at the hydrant.
Well, they're still having trouble getting it on, and this is going to hurt them. Well,
It's a washout.
They've just given up.
That'll be in no time, I'm afraid, and it's a shame because they've been doing pretty well with their runs.
And that, I believe, is all the teams for the B-Hills competition.
By the way, as we get a look at that hydrant, each team is responsible for their adapter. They'll put a hose adapter on that hydrant, each team, and they're used, because they're used to that. They're used to their own adapter where the connection is how many threads are on it. It makes quite a bit of difference because what they'll try and do is hook the beginning of the threads on the female end to the beginning of the threads on the male end and try and crank it down. If they can get it, a half a turn or 3/4 of a turn, and it's going to be on a full turn that way, so that they will have enough of a connection to keep the water in the hose rather than spraying all out.
Of course,
we did the same with the nozzle also.
Sure, that water's coming out awful quick. And as I've said earlier before, you have to be accurate. It's a lot of split-second timing, and I'm sure a lot of practice as well.
Okay, now as we're waiting for the official word on this, it appears that we have the Point Pleasant team in first place with a great time of 10.85.
It was
for
fantastic
this
time.
particular end of the competition. And beyond them, it looks like the closest would be Kenilworth, and they had a really good time of 12.59. The next closest one to them would be Dansville with, I believe, 12.89. So that's only 30/100ths of a second away, Greg. So that's a pretty tight competition any way you put it.
Very close, very exciting. And I think that's going to put Point Pleasant into first place. We'll wait for the official standings, but it looks like Point Pleasant will go into first place ahead of Spencerport and Henrietta. And here it is.
More fans sunning themselves.
Fifth place, 1 point, Seabreeze. Fourth place, 2 points, Spencerport. Third place, 3 points, Union Hose. Second place, 4 points, Kenilworth. First place, 5 points with a time of 10.85, the Point Pleasant Pea Pickers.
And some Pea Picker fans cheering on their team.
9.53 with St. Francis will count towards yearly trophies.
Okay, as the announcer just said, the best time in the event was Main Transit with that 9.53, and that'll count towards their yearly trophies, but not for today's individual trophies. And what we have here now is Point Pleasant in first place.
Okay, that will bring them up to 23 points.
Okay, and I'll kind of run through these, and then you can tally those up for me, Greg. In second place, Kenilworth, picking up 4 points for the event. Dansville in third place with a time of 12.89. As I said, only 31/100ths of a second away from Kenilworth. And in fourth place, we have Spencerport with 2 points, earning 2 points in that event, and Seabreeze in fifth place.
Okay, so some of the teams were a little lower in the competition have picked up a few points, and North Bailey trying to redeem themselves. And
Let me interrupt you for just a second, Greg. We have here with us again Bill Fisher, who just came back from a fire. Tell us about that, Bill.
Oh, it was a minor electrical fire in a house right opposite the fire hall.
Well, that was lucky.
Yeah, close enough. There's no damage at all in the house.
So as I was saying while you were gone, I was kind of giving you guys credit for your dedication. You all hold down full-time jobs somewhere in the community, wherever they may be, and you put in quite a bit of time protecting the people. And even here today, while you're having your competition, your picnic, and enjoying yourselves, you still have at least a skeleton crew out there. There you see our broadcast location again. With me in the red hat is Bill Fisher, and he's with the Main Transit Fire Company. I'm Phil Tronalone. With me on the end is Greg Romeo. I'm kind of in the middle here. This event now, with the pumpers, is a very dangerous event. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Bill Fisher?
Okay, this event, the B truck is used again, the bigger truck. It has a pump mounted in the truck. They'll start 100 feet from the hydrant. They'll come up, hook up with a 4-inch hard suction hose, and they'll stretch out 100 feet of double jacket hose, the heavier hose, and they'll pump with the truck, and they'll pump at higher pressures in the vicinity of 90 to 100 pounds. And it makes it more dangerous because of the higher pressures, and they'll have 3 or 4, sometimes 5 men on the nozzle. And a lot of times, if there's a little bit of a kink in the hose behind it, they'll...
Rather than the 2 men they've had on the nozzle
Yes.
thus far. And the heavier hose, that, of course, is the hose that's double
jacketed.
Double-jacketed
That's
canvas.
for safety also, yeah. Because very easily with the single jacket hose, they'll blow a hole in the length of hose. And to avoid that, mandatory they use the double jacket hose.
Do you modify these hoses yourself, by the way? I noticed that it seemed that some of the single jacket hose was double jacket that was cut down or something.
Yes, some of it's, some teams use a double jacket hose that cut the outer jacket off. A lot of the couplings are taped together, or sometimes they're taken and they're turned down on a lathe to cut some of the extra weight off them to make them lighter. Everybody modifies them slightly to their own best advantage.
Okay, now we see on the screen there the Main Transit Company in their B-class vehicle. And it looks like they're about to take off, Greg.
Okay, Bill, maybe you want to talk a little bit about the motor pump competition, exactly what is involved.
Okay, they're going to hook up to a hydrant, pump water
There
through
they
the
are,
truck,
hooking up to the hydrant.
and trim the target, which is about 50 feet from the target on the nozzle line. They had a little
Okay, they
difficulty.
tripped the target there.
A little difficulty there. In this event particularly, the wind is going to be a big factor in the hose streams.
Because of the difference. Now, how far is that hose stream itself traveling? About 100 feet, does it seem to be?
Well, the nozzle line from the target is 50 feet.
Okay, 50 feet.
However, they'll generally be tripping a target from about 75 feet. They don't come all the way up to the
because it did seem to
nozzle
me
line.
that they were midway between the 100-foot mark and the nozzle line.
Yeah, they'll want to get down and get set and get their nozzle aimed and take a chance on a longer distance and be set with the nozzle rather than have that pressure coming before they're ready.
As we just saw them kind of cleaning up around the hydrant there. Another important thing is they do want to make this track as dry as possible for the next team, because these trucks are traveling pretty quickly, and when they slam on their brakes and so forth, they really don't want to lose control. And there are spectators fairly close by here, right, Bill?
Yes, they say we're only about 10 or 15 feet off the track. So.
And that's heavy equipment. What does one of those trucks weigh about? Do you have any idea?
The B truck has to be a minimum of 6,000 pounds.
So that's a very heavy vehicle.
Right. The C trucks, the smaller ones, are a minimum of 2,200 pounds.
Bill, could I ask you how much practice time is going into these type of events?
Quite a bit. We spend most of the winter, at least 1 or 2 nights a week during the winter, working on the equipment. You know, tearing the trucks down every year,
Here we are
going
with
over the engines.
Thank you.
Henrietta Club, by the way, coming in, hooking up to the hydrant. They're revving that truck up, pumping like crazy. The water coming through, a steady stream of water. They've got the top of the target, now the bottom. They made it. I'll tell you, those guys really have to work to anchor that hose, Bill.
Yeah, it's quite a job. It's probably, like I say, I think that's the most dangerous of the events in the competition.
And a fantastic time for Henrietta, 8.77 seconds.
Seabreeze on the line. The Indians of Seabreeze.
Well, Greg, I guess that's why they call them the O. Henrys. That was,
Well, I guess
quite a display.
that's why. Fantastic time for Henrietta, and of course that'll help him out in the standings. The Seabreeze Indians up next with this motor pump competition, and they'll have a tough time beating that 8.77 seconds set by Henrietta today.
After this, Craig, maybe we can kind of run down the scores leading up to this event and see where all the teams stand.
Okay, it's going to be close, Phil, and of course this competition here will have an effect on the standings.
Okay, they're ready to go, and they're off. It's a short run to that hydrant, about 50 feet, I believe. They hook up to the hydrant. You hear them revving the truck to get that pressure through the hose.
They were out of control, yeah.
And they had a problem there. As you can see, they went out of control with that hose. It's very difficult with the kind of pressure that's going through those lines right now to hold that on a straight line to hit that target, which is quite a distance away. So when they did go out of control, for the safety of the fans, etc., they knocked that out. They cut the pressure. And of course, for this particular event, Bill, they've taken some extra precautions. Is that correct? To protect the fans?
Yes, you'll see the canvases put up along the fences to protect the fans from the high-pressure hose streams.
You may see that at the very top of our screen. There's a green canvas fence right up there, and also on this side of the track to protect the fans. Right?
That's just in case the hose gets out of control like it just did there, so that high-pressure stream could hurt somebody in the stands very easily.
Okay, now Seabreeze won't have a second chance. Am I correct? They're disqualified?
That's right. That's it. They're disqualified. You got one chance in every event.
Okay.
So they're given a no time or disqualification on that particular event. And that's going to hurt them.
Spencerport, who's up next?
Spencerport Red Onions.
The Red Onions. Kind of making me hungry with some of these names here. The Pea Pickers, the Red Onions. And they're off.
Okay, and they're at the hydrant hooking up right now. Running down that 5-man hose nozzle team. Looks like they have it under control. A great steady stream, a torrent of water coming through there, Bill. That seemed to be a bit more water than I've seen thus far in the competition.
Yeah, that's just all the different streams that come about with the different type of pumps that each team has. And at different pressures, at different hoses, different nozzles give you entirely different type streams.
And that was 10.34 for Spencerport.
Right,
Very
and
good time.
that'll
a
put
little
them
off the leaders, but
a little bit off, but not by much. A second or two at the very most.
I tell you, the fans on the far side of the track really got hosed down there, Greg.
I think they enjoyed it,
water was
though.
a little I'm sure they did.
Sure, maybe if we're lucky, we can get a little spray over here. Wouldn't mind that one bit.
Certainly would cool things off. And there you see the fans that got a little bit of that moisture.
This is a great day, though, for an event like this.
Bill, you mentioned that on that last one, the judge was following very close behind that pumper.
Yes, the vehicle starts 75 feet from the hydrant. and the timing line is 25 feet from the hydrant. So they'll develop a coasting speed of the truck coming into the hydrant. There's one man on the front of the truck on the left side near the driver who is hanging out over the fender looking for the front wheels to
As you see
cross
him
the
right
timing
there,
line.
right.
Once the timing light is tripped, then he yells go and the men can get off the back. The judges are looking that the men don't step off before they cross that timing line.
And they lost control of the hose there. It looks like the nozzle came right off. Now right there, they also were quite a ways back, it seemed to me, Bill. They were, I guess you would say at the minimum that you could possibly be.
Yeah, they're way back. They're at least 75 to 100 feet back. And a day like today with the wind, that's quite a disadvantage. And it looks like their nozzle just came apart.
And even, it's funny, even with the nozzle coming apart, that stream of water almost reached the target.
Yeah, it can still reach the target. Just the momentum of the water from coming out of that pump.
When you fight a fire, Bill, do you use a nozzle at all times, or?
Oh yes, yeah, we got various type nozzles that are always used.
I understand. There you see the Point Pleasant team, I believe.
That's right, Phil. The Point Pleasant pea pickers, kind of a tongue twister there.
It's Greg's favorite team.
Had a little trouble getting that one out. And let's see what Point Pleasant can do.
Okay, they're ready to start now. They're at the line. The judges flanking the truck on both sides.
They're going to have a tough time,
Participants
Phil.
going back, setting that the hose that will go to the hydrant up there.
They're going to have a tough time beating some of these great scores, great times, I should say, so far in the motor pump competition.
Okay, you see the judge in the red hat and white clothing over there at the top of your screen. Also at the bottom of your screen to the rear of the truck, another judge. He's watching closely to make sure those hose men don't jump off too quickly. They're at the hydrant. The hoses are out. They hit the pavement, get that nozzle on. And a steady stream of water, they can't quite find the mark. There they have it.
And I think that's going to hurt them standing-wise. A few seconds here, just trying to find the right spot.
Time for Point Pleasant, 10.89. 10.89.
Not a bad time at all, even with some of the difficulty they had.
And that puts them into third place, I believe, right, Greg?
That's right, Phil. Third place so far.
Now you see the Kenilworth Ducks.
Right, there's Kenilworth and North Bailey left for the motor pump competition. So 2 teams left. And then we'll be moving on to the running hose replacement, we'll talk about in a few minutes. And the Kenilworth Ducks getting ready to give it their best shot here.
Greg, for a moment, why don't you run down the standings prior to this event so we can kind of get an idea where we are.
Okay, and as you said, Phil, remember this is prior to the motor hose competition. Motor pump, excuse me. First place, Point Pleasant with 23 points. Second place is Spencerport with 21. Third is Henrietta with 18. And
they've hooked up to the hydrant. They got the hose out. They've hit the dirt, trying to anchor that hose, having a bit of difficulty, but they do get the target and in a very good time, Greg.
That's going to be a good time. It'll be tough to beat. They made up for that little loss of control very quickly and very accurately as well. Okay, going on in the competition, and here's the time, excuse me. 8.93. And that'll move them into second place, right behind Henrietta by only about 0.2 of a second. Very close.
Matter of fact, it appears that that's about 16 100ths of a second between Henrietta and Kenilworth.
Can't get much closer. And only North Bailey left here. Okay, to finish running down the standings, in fourth place is Dansville with 8 points. North Bailey has 6 points. Seabreeze has 5 points. Kenilworth 4 points, and Hilton has none.
Okay, now at the onset of this competition today, I found out, or I heard that Spencerport would be one of the favorites, and it seems to have added up that way.
That's right. They're only 2 points behind first place, and of course that could change after the standings come through and the points are awarded.
Of course, the people at Main Transit were I would say on the humble side, when they mentioned that Spencerport was the favorite today, because although Maine Transit isn't competing for this competition, they've done awfully well.
They're doing a great job looking over the times.
Okay, they're at the hydrant.
Fantastic.
The nozzle men are off. They've anchored it, and a good spray of water. Can't quite hit the mark there, Greg.
No, they're having a little trouble, and there it is.
And there they go.
And
Bill, that must be a little bit disheartening when you do everything right, but you just can't quite find the mark.
Yeah, it's very difficult tripping the target. And like I say, in a windy day like today, that hose stream is breaking up, and the nozzle man, and most of the time, cannot see the target. He's just aiming for where he thinks it is. And
because he's looking out over the top of the water more.
Right, he can see, he has his initial aim where he aims at to hit the target, and if it doesn't hit it right off the bat, it's just hit and miss trying to find it.
And I imagine he must have to aim above the target.
Above it, and a day like today, aim to the right also.
So a very good job there. And Greg, what was the time on that one again?
okay, for North Bailey, 13.51, a few seconds off the best time so far, which was Henrietta. Looks like they've captured first place.
Okay, so unofficially we have, for this event, the motor hose event, we have Henrietta leading the event, taking first place in this event. Second was Kenilworth with an excellent time, only 16/100ths of a second away from Henrietta. And in third place, Spencerport. Fourth place, we had Point Pleasant. And in last place, North Bailey. And now, as we said, you've just seen the end of that motor pump competition, exciting competition that it was. How does it look, Greg, as far as the overall scoring for today's events now with that competition under our belts?
Okay, Phil, it's very, very close and very exciting. In first place so far is Point Pleasant with 25 points. Second place, Spencerport, with 24 points. Third place has Henrietta with 23 points. So as you see, a 1-point difference between first, second, and third place. And then moving on, Dansville in fourth with 8 points. North Bailey has 7 points, which would put them in fifth place. Seabreeze has 5 points. Kenilworth has 8. I'm sorry, that would tie them with Dansville for fourth place. And Hilton has...
The amazing thing here, Greg, I think it's not a matter of getting a little lucky with some events and better with others. I think it's kind of a consistency thing. As we see, the top 3 teams are in the mid-20 point range, 23 through 25 points, and the next team beyond that in order only has 8 points.
Right, they're about 15 or so points behind, so they have a lot of catching up to do.
So you see some of the fans, Greg, enjoying themselves, enjoying the weather, and kind of a nice party that's been put on here by the people at Maine Transit.
Sure, and the crowd's been fantastic. No problems at all. Everyone's just enjoying, having a really great time and a great day. And we have a few clouds coming in, which is just cooling things off just a little bit. But it's still a fantastic day to come out and just have a fantastic time.
And by the way, while we have a moment here, I'd like to thank our crew for the excellent job they've been doing today. Our cameramen, Joe Dinky up in that big boom camera, the shot you see right there.
I think Joe's nervous yet, or you think he's still holding on up there?
Nerves of steel. Nerves of steel,
What
as
a
I
guy.
said before. And you see there you see Joe Dinky up
There
in
he
that
is.
bucket truck that you talked to the Harris Hill chief about earlier.
Right, the snorkel,
They
as they
provided
call it.
for us. Yep.
That's
And
right.
there you see Joe again. He's aiming his camera at Tartuffe. Mike Matthias up there on top of the arc. It's kind of a battle of the cameramen as we see it there. There you see Mike Matthias. Seems like the judges have a bit of a correction, which we'll kind of pick up for you as we go. And on top of our international cable van behind us here, you see Mike Cumbo, Mario as we call him here at International Cable.
It sounds
And,
like somebody in a high place here in New York State. I can't quite think of the name, though.
I can't figure out what you're getting at there, Greg. Must be some kind of an inside joke with the crew.
Well, we'll leave it
At
there.
any rate, and also I'd like to thank our director, Roger Rainville, who's been getting us those split screen effects, which really kind of helps to show what's going on here in the 2 different spots of an event, for instance, at the hydrant and at the nozzle, those 2 main important parts. And of course, I'd also like to thank our great engineer, Randy Primus, who's done a heck of a job on he always does a heck of a job on all the events, making sure the cameras look good. Today, a particularly difficult setup with that high camera, both the 2 high cameras, and bringing in a 3rd camera here to cover this event with. And also, I'd like to thank our man Bruno, who's been giving us our cues here, floor directing, Bruno Pasinich. And there you see the refreshment stand. Maine Transit has put on kind of a feast here for the people. And as I said before, later they'll also be having a roast beef dinner.
Yeah, the refreshment stand, I wish it wasn't so close to the broadcast booth there. I'm kind of tempted to run over and grab a bite. Oh, there we are.
There we are at our broadcast location. There you see Bruno Pasinich there with the headphones on, waving, and the rest of us here. Okay, now we have a foot event, the running hose replacement event, which is our 8th event of the day here today. And Bill, maybe you could tell us a little about that. Bill Fisher from Maine Transit.
Okay, they're going to start at a starting line which is 25 feet before the hydrant. They're going to stretch the hose out. They're going to hook to the hydrant, stretch the hose down the track. There are 2 targets in this event. They'll stretch 150 feet of hose. There'll be a nozzle already attached to the hose. The nozzle man will pick up the nozzle, trip the first target. When the first target is tripped, there'll be a 50-foot length of hose still remaining in the cart, which will be beyond the nozzle line.
We see the 2 targets, by the way, right there, and now they're moving to the right-hand target.
Once the first target is tripped, then the men that are still standing along the hose, along the track, will disconnect the hose couplings, take the middle length of hose out. They'll take the 50-foot length of hose that's still in the cart, bring it down the track, put it in the line of hose, hook it all back together, and then trip the target on the left side of the track.
So at that point, they'll have to clip the pressure on the hose to disconnect and reconnect.
Right. We use a gate right at the 50-foot coupling, at the last coupling, the coupling closest to the hydrant that is going to be disconnected. We have a hydrant gate in there. They'll shut it off right there, hook the new length of hose to that, and then when that's hooked up, they turn it back on.
In other words, they don't turn it off right at the hydrant?
No, at the 50-foot coupling.
There they are with the first shot. They've hit the target. Good work there thus far. They're bringing that extra length of hose. They've disconnected. They're reconnecting now, making quick work of it. The water's on, and they hit the second target. Bill, this is the first time I've seen this event, but I would say that was a fairly good time.
Yeah, it looked like an excellent run.
Okay, and there we have the next team up, which I believe is the Hilton team.
That's right, the Hilton Hose Haulers.
Okay, and they'll have to live up to their name here.
Let's see what they can do.
As you see the Maine Transit team in the orange shirts exiting there past the hose haulers. It's interesting too, all the uniforms. Everybody here, all the teams have uniforms. You see the hose haulers coming down now, laying that hose out as they go. The water's coming, you hear one of the hose haulers holler. Okay, down to the second part of the competition here. And there they go, the judges and spectators scurrying away from behind that stream of water.
Looks like another good time, Phil. For Hilton, it's going to be close.
Main Transit time 19.71, 19.71. Time for Hilton, 23.35, 23.35. Henrietta on the line.
Okay, so Hilton with 23.35 seconds. And Maine Transit, by the way, they were a little late giving us that time. Did that in 19.71, I believe, Greg.
That's correct. And here's Henrietta.
Okay, the area record, by the way, I heard from Bill Fisher, who's sitting with us here and has been helping us out all day, is 19.58. So what we have there, Greg, is Maine Transit coming very, very close, within about 21/100ths of a second of the area record.
Extremely
Bill,
close.
who's that area record held by?
It's held by Henrietta, and I also believe that is also a state record.
Henrietta's record?
Yeah, I believe it's also a state record in that event.
And we may even take a moment and look that up here.
Okay, there's Henrietta getting ready. And I would venture to say if Maine and Transit were competing per se, they would be awful close, right up there with Henrietta, Spencerport, and Point Pleasant. So they're having a fantastic day.
Okay, and there they've hooked to the hydrant. You see all that hose coming out of the back of that wagon. And, Greg, when that hits the ground, it's quite a sound. So it's kind of a dangerous thing. They've made the first connection. Running back, disconnecting the hose, having a bit of trouble with it. They've got it back. The pressure's coming, and a lot of trouble right in front of our broadcast location. Greg, we almost got sprayed that time.
Almost. Okay, there they go again, and the target's up. But that will cost them valuable seconds. for this event.
Very good job there, by the way, by the nozzle man.
Henrietta, 25.70, 25.70.
So 25.70, it's off the leaders.
Not that bad a time considering the trouble they had connecting the hose. Only about 2 seconds away from Hilton.
Bill, maybe you could tell us a little bit about the nozzle used here. I noticed it's kind of a long
And the nozzle used here is similar to the one they use in motor pump. They use a longer nozzle for a better stream. In the speed competitions, they use a small nozzle for ease of handling, and you're closer to the target. But these here type of longer nozzles, you get a better stream of water out of them. So
and of course, they don't have to worry about the handling because it is already hooked on.
Yeah, this event is already hooked on, so they'll use the bigger, heavier nozzle. I did check the state record is held by Henrietta, and it was set at this track 2 years ago.
Oh, it's very good. Unfortunately, they didn't do very well right there. But as I said before, there's quite a lot involved with every one of these events. There are generally at least 3 points of departure where something can go wrong.
There they go.
Sea Breeze in the red uniforms. They've made the connection at the hydrant. All that hoses come out, the nozzle drops off. And there we have the first shot. It's good, it's quick. They're rushing back with that next length of hose, making the so-called nozzle connection. There's water coming through there, having a bit of a problem at the gate, and I think it's a bust.
Slow.
Okay, there they go. Just a slow time. It was a little bit out of our line of sight there. And there did seem to be quite a bit of water at that cutoff gate. Could you tell us a little bit about that cutoff gate, Bill?
It's a standard hydrant gate that's used in ordinary firefighting at a hydrant. We use it there. It just gives them the quick handle. They can shut it right off. The man who hooks the line back on, he just throws the handle back down, and that's what they use right there at that first 50-foot coupling.
And Spencerport coming up next. This is an important event because Spencerport is only 1 point away from first place, trailing Point Pleasant by 1.25 points compared to 24. So they'll have to get a good time to get back in first place. And of course, Henrietta had a good time as well, so it's going to be close.
We have how many events left at this point? 2 events after this, right?
That's correct, Phil. After the running hose replacement event, the 9th event is the efficiency event, and 10th is the bucket brigade, which is very interesting.
Okay, and they're off. The nozzle's down. They've hit the target. They stop that flow of water, connect the next set of hoses. And they're off.
And Spencerport's going to have a real good time. No problems whatsoever as far as connecting those hoses or hitting the target.
The Spencerport Red Onions with what looks to be a very good run right there.
Red Onion's doing a great job, and here it is.
21.10 to 1.10.
I believe that puts them into the lead aside from the main transit time.
That's right, Phil. They were 2 seconds off the main transit time, but of course, since main transit isn't competing, that will put them in first place.
There's Dansville's Union Hose Company Bulldogs.
Dansville not having that great a day today. They're tied for 4th place with only 8 points. Let's see how they do. Maybe they can.
Bill, could you tell me a little bit about how the annual state competition works? Will they get the same type of point scoring that they get for the events? Will that go on kind of for the meets? I mean, if you win first place in this meet, do you get 5 points towards the state?
No, they took your total points you'll get for today, and they'll accumulate during the year to each of the tournaments, and they keep accumulating your points after each tournament.
And Dansville is off. Nozzle's down, and they have the first target. Here come the men running with the second hose. Here comes the water through the hose, and they've got it.
They have quite a few guys anchoring that hose, a little bit more than the other teams have used thus far, I believe. It's interesting, too, by the way, that they disconnect the middle section of the hose.
22.17 to 2.17.
Okay, a great time for Dansville.
Very close to the leaders with that one. There you see him coming down. Snorkel's about to drop. There it is. Snorkel man's on it. Good quick shot. And now they're replacing that section of hose. Bill, is there any rules about that? How quick they can change that hose, or?
Oh, they cannot leave the cart until the first target is tripped. There's officials down here watching them to make sure that that hose does not leave the cart before that first
Yeah, I
target is
noticed.
tripped.
Very good time.
Very good, Phil. They're only not even a second off Spencerport.
21.29 the time there. It goes.
Well, Phil, unofficially, it looks like Spencerport took first place. Point Pleasant took second, and Dansville took third. And for fourth place, looks like, let's see here, we're trying to figure out.
It might look like Kenilworth, I think.
It's between Kenilworth and Hilton. Oh, you're right, it's Kenilworth.
Very close there for fourth place.
Right, and of course, fifth place would go, it looks like goes to Hilton. But we'll listen just to make sure we have the, okay, here we go.
And here you see the efficiency event getting underway there. Problems right off the bat for Main Transit, and problems there. It seems that they have a player down, a player possibly hurt. He caught a heck of a stream of water out of that hydrant. So they're calling for some first aid, I think, here, and that does not look good. Bill, can you tell me who that is down on the track?
The hydrant man is John Kemp. That looks like it's possibly him.
For the Main Transit slowpokes. And Main Transit, by the way, earlier in the running, there you see the emergency vehicle coming into play, Main Transit's ambulance there, Rescue 7. But Main Transit also had a kind of a slight injury earlier in one of the ladder events, the running ladder. But it's unfortunate there. It seems that Kemp, if it is Kemp, and we believe it is, just could not get out of the way of that water, Greg. As he moved, he just was kind of followed by that steady stream of very hard, high-pressure water.
Well, Phil, considering the competition and the some of the danger that goes along with this competition, I'm surprised we haven't had more injuries, and that only a couple. We're very lucky.
And also the danger that goes along with firefighting as a whole. And again, all these men are volunteers. They do not get paid to do this, so they put it on the line.
That's right, and it's really something for them to volunteer their time for such a worthy cause.
Bill, does it look like you can give us any kind of an update on this? What appears to be happening here?
Yeah, I can't tell at all. It's all the people around him. You can't really tell.
I think, first of all, what may have happened there, as I saw it, as he was trying to connect the nozzle of his hose to the hydrant, something let loose. And on the ends of those hoses, of course, is a heavy brass connector. And it seems that possibly that connector may have flown up and struck him somewhere. May possibly have knocked him out a bit, or at least put him off balance enough that he really was not able to protect himself from that hard stream of water.
There he is, he's laying down. He doesn't seem to be unconscious, excuse me. And he's up, and the crowd giving him a round of applause.
Quite shaken up, as I said before. He's holding a gauze patch or something over his mouth, and it seems that he may have gotten nailed. I think we've just gotten an update here. I think he got nailed in the chin with the brass end of that hose. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, he got a pretty good cut on his chin.
And none of them can cross that starting line till they're okay to go. And they're off. Is there any order, Bill, with the way they have to cross that line? Does the hydrant man have to cross first or anything?
No, there's no order. It's just that any man who crosses, the first man who crosses starts the clock. So the object is, the best way to do it is have your hydrant man, the man that trips the light, because he's got to get to the hydrant to get the water on. So we generally aim to have him jump a split second sooner towards the hydrant and have him start the timing light.
And we have the Henrietta O. Henrys on the line.
Coming up, they'll have to beat a time of 11.96 by the Hilton hose haulers to go into first place.
Unfortunately, Main Transit had to take a no time on that.
There's Henrietta on the starting line, waiting to try their best at the efficiency event.
Bill, how will they tally up Main Transit's points for the Western New York competition, for the annual?
At the end of the meet, they'll retally all the points for the whole competition. They'll just take a blank sheet and just redo the whole thing and figure our times in and readjust all the point scores. which will,
But that won't matter for the other teams.
that won't matter. Well, not for today's competition, but it will change the points that they'll have for the overall for
So
the year.
the point spread for the overall will be changed all the way around by
All the
that.
way around, right?
So Main Transit taking kind of a beating right there. Seems like an excellent time there. They went with a little bit of a different style there. They're not diving down on the ground and anchoring that hose at the nozzle.
Generally, in this event, the nozzlemen will stand up.
3-4. The Seabreeze Indians on the line.
Okay, Henrietta with a time of 10.34.
Trouble at the nozzle, or at the hydrant, pardon me. And the water gushing through now. They've hit the target.
Okay, I guess the water didn't come through as quick as they would have liked. But let's listen to the time and see how Seabreeze did.
Time for Seabreeze, 11.92, 11.92. Spencer for Red Onions on the line.
Okay, Seabreeze, that puts them in second place. Of course, Spencerport now tied for first place with the Point Pleasant Pea Pickers. And they're ahead by 6 points, which is quite a spread considering we're down to the last two events.
If I can interrupt for a second here, I see, Bill, that they have those connectors in their hands, some of the runners. What's the rule say about connecting those hoses? Are they supposed to be connected or not?
No, they got to be disconnected, and on go, they'll hook them together while as they start running. If the officials hear the brass click before the go is given, they'll be disqualified.
And an excellent time there by the Red Onions.
No problem at all hitting the target. It seems as soon as they got the water out, it hit the target right away.
Time for Spencerport, 9.86.
A very good time. That puts them out into the lead, Greg.
The Union Hose Bulldogs on the line.
Okay, Dansville coming up next. An excellent time for Spencerport, 9.86 seconds.
And there you see the next team, the Bulldogs from Dansville. Okay, and they had a problem there at the last connection. And it looks like they'll be disqualified from this event, and no time for the Dansville Bulldogs. There you see him on the starting line.
The Pea Pickers ready to go.
I got a rope in the truck. You can hang yourself off the fence. Hey, did you hear when he thought I drilled you? I thought it was she was grounded in the lake.
As we go there, the crowd seems to have quieted down. They're kind of excited, a little bit apprehensive to see who's going to win this one.
It's going to be close, Phil. Looking forward to it myself.
There they go, laying out that hose, the horses as they call them. And there they go, a pretty good time it looks like.
It's going to be close. And let's listen for the official time.
Time for Point Pleasant, 13.58, 13.58. The Kenilworth Bucks on the line.
Well, Point Pleasant, a good 5 seconds behind Spencerport. And, of course, that will only help Spencerport in the standings.
And the North Bailey Jaguars up at the line.
And this, of course, the last team for the efficiency event. And we're kind of winding down with the Bucket Brigade coming up next for the final event of today's competition.
And, the Bucket Brigade, by the way, is kind of a traditional event. It's an old event because they are actually using buckets to fill a barrel. So that's kind of, although they're serious about it, it's kind of the fun event of the day.
Fun
It's kind
and
of the one that's good for a laugh because everybody gets soaked.
sharing a little bit of tradition, too. Okay, North Bailey, not a bad time there, I'm sure. And let's listen for the official time.
Time for North Bailey, 11.72, 11.72. Local committee, let's start getting ready for the bucket.
Okay, Phil, and unofficially, by our tallies here, we have Spencerport in first place, Henrietta in second. In third place is Kenilworth. Fourth place would go to North Bailey. Fifth place, Seabreeze. And Hilton very close behind. Third, fourth, fifth, and sixth place are very close.
Okay, Greg, we're going to break away for a moment here. We're back again. Now behind me, you see the Bucket Brigade competition, which is the 10th and final event today. Due to time restrictions, we're going to have to leave you now, but with the final standings, as we have them with one event to go here, we have Spencerport with 34 points. Beyond them, it's Point Pleasant with 29 points. Now, the best that anybody can do is to tie Spencerport at this point, and that would be if they scored no points at all in this event, which is doubtful. Behind them, we have Henrietta with 27 points, the next closest. In fourth place, we have North Bailey. Let's change that. In fourth place, we have Kenilworth with 16. Then down to Dansville with 11, and North Bailey with 9. Finishing last was Hilton with 1. They've had their problems today. And Greg, it's been a fantastic day out here at Main Transit Fire Company on Main Street in Amherst, New York. And we have a few people to thank, don't we, Greg?
We sure do. It's been a fantastic day. Our special thanks going out to our aerial snorkel crew provided by the Harris Hill Fire Department. We'd like to thank John Royce, the fire chief from Harris Hill, Bill Watson in the bucket, and Captain Fran Hafner. And, of course, all the folks here at International Cable doing a fantastic job with us.
Okay, thank you, Greg. We'd also like to thank George Carroll, who was instrumental. He's a former chief here at Main Transit, and he's been instrumental in helping us set all this up today. And I'd have to say that the people at Main Transit have been very good with us. Okay, and we'll be signing off. I'm Phil Tronalone with Greg Romeo for International Cable.